Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Goodone and I've been a comedian for over 30 years. I'm also a graduate of the VCA Film School and I've made 151 short films with teenagers at risk. Their average age is about 14, 15 and many of the films are comedies, I'm glad to say. Oh, and they're all made in one day. And what I've discovered is that film and comedy are a potent combination for dealing with the many issues that these young people face. So, how did it all start? Because I didn't set out to use comedy as therapy. I just wanted to make some films. I got a phone call from an old friend of mine, and he wanted me to make a documentary with 3 different groups of teenagers at risk. And it was going to be about youth suicide, self-harm, bullying, anxiety, depression, the whole horror story. And I thought, I can't just walk up to these kids with a camera and stick it in their faces and go, what do you think about self-harm? That's just never going to work, especially if they're self-harmers. So, without asking anyone's permission or telling my bosses what I was going to do, I turned it into a film school. I thought, what we'll do is we'll make films about these issues and build up some trust. And sure, maybe at the end, I'll make a documentary, which is what actually happened in the end. But in the meantime, we were just going to make films. And my big fear was that the whole thing was going to be a failure. What if they didn't want to make films? But you know what? When you've got the fire of passion burning in your gut, whatever decision you make is the right decision. So I met with these 3 groups of hardcore kids for 19 weeks. And in that first big project that I ever did, we made 57 short films. And right from the start, right from the very first film I ever made with that first group of kids, I knew that I'd stumbled onto a way of engaging troubled young people and giving them a purpose and meaning to their lives that had not been done before. It's a combination of film, impro, and most importantly, comedy. So, how do you get troubled young people to be in a film? How do you actually get them to want to be in front of the camera? And this was haunting me because I thought, what if we can't think of anything? I had to bring along an idea to that first session that not only was so brilliant that they'd want to do it, it had to be so fantastic that they'd want to do another one. And this was haunting me, and quite frankly, I was scared. I was really scared that the whole thing was just going to fall in a heap. But then the gods of comedy answered my prayers. It was the weekend before it was all going to start. And I went to my niece's 2nd birthday party. And one of her presents was wrapped in bubble wrap. And whenever bubble wrap makes an appearance at a social gathering, what happens? Everyone just starts popping it, don't they? Young, old, it doesn't matter who it is, you just start popping it. It's like a drug. It's like a drug we're all addicted to. And then I had the idea. What we do is we do a send-up of a current affair. And it's a report about the drug that all the kids are taking. But all it is, it's just popping bubble wrap. So on the first day with the first group of kids, I said, okay, we're going to make a film right now and we're going to finish it today. And tomorrow I'm going to bring copies on DVD for all of you. And if we can't think of an idea in the next half an hour, I've got an idea and I'll pitch it to you and you see if you want to do it. And of course, immediately they all just went, what's your idea, mate? So I pitched to them the bubble wrap idea. And I said, so we're going to need dealers and addicts and bent police, and before I finished the sentence, they're all sitting there with their hands up going, I want to be a dealer. I want to be an addict. And the funny thing was, some of them were. But here's the thing. Some of these kids didn't even go to school anymore. Here's the thing. Suddenly, they were disciplined. Suddenly, they were enthusiastic. Suddenly, they had the passion. For instance, there was this one kid, this brilliant kid, Josh. He was 13 years old, and he was playing a dealer. And we're getting ready for the first shot, and I noticed him out of the corner of my eye, and he had this big sheet of bubble wrap, and he was cutting it up. And I said to him, Josh, what are you doing, mate? And he said, well, these are the different deals you can buy. This is the $50 one. This is the $20 one. And this little strip here, that's $10. It's just for a taste. like that is funny. That is hilarious. Actually, he was an amazing kid. Just before I met him, he'd stopped his chroming habit. So that's like sniffing glue and paint. And the last I heard, he'd gone back to school. So that was a great thing for him. So this is the way it usually works. You get together in the morning and you decide on a theme. Then you write a short story, a very loose short story around that theme. Then you divide it up into scenes. And when I say scenes, they're just one-shot scenes. So doing 7 or 8 scenes in a day is really doable. It's really doable. Then you assign the roles, and during the course of meeting them once a week, the roles change. So sometimes kids are in front of the camera, sometimes they're behind the camera. And then you start making the film. And you go around the place, and it's cinema verite style. It's just anywhere. It's on the street, it's in a shop, it's in an office, it's in a classroom. It doesn't really matter. And as you go around making the films, everyone can see that it's working. Everyone can see that it's funny. Everyone can see that their ideas are worthwhile. It's like a whirlwind. You can't help but get caught up in it. It's like an old Shirley Temple film, you know, hey, let's put on a show. My dad's got an old barn, especially with that bubble wrap idea. I've made quite a few bubble wrap films. They're quite an icebreaker. And as you go around making the films, the trust builds. And the kids start telling you their stories. In fact, some of them just spill their guts to you. And it's a story that I'm very familiar with because that was my childhood. Violence and neglect and abuse, early drug taking, all-round risky behaviour. It was awful. 2 of my brothers have killed themselves, and my other brother is a paranoid schizophrenic, and he is at the extreme end of it. It was a nightmare. And the kids say to me, why haven't you killed yourself? Why aren't you in the nut house? And I say to them, because I always had comedy. I always knew what I was going to do from when I was 4 years old. My great uncle put me on a stage and handed me a microphone, and I sang Bar Bar Black Sheep. Although today you would sing non-gender specific rainbow coloured sheep. But it was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. And because I was so adorably cute, everyone laughed and applauded. And I just thought, oh my God, I want more of this. And even through the worst of the worst, I always knew that one day I was going to end up on stage. And here I am. I am a living example of the power of comedy. And this is what I want. I want this to become a worldwide movement. I want troubled teenagers in front of the camera sending things up and taking control. Because that's what you do when you make comedy. You take control. But where is comedy in the scheme of things in the arts? It's right down the bottom. In fact, I'll tell you how far down comedy is in the scheme of things. I once did this big comedy arts project in this small country town where 13 young people had killed themselves in 2.5 years. 13 in 2.5 years. That is a national disgrace. And as a last resort, they thought, you know what we need up here is a good laugh. What we need are some comedians. So I got the gig. But that's the whole reason for me being here today. I don't want comedy to be the last resort. I want comedy to be the first resort. Because let's face it, it's pretty hard to kill yourself while you're laughing. Try it. I'll bet you're still alive the next time I see you. The American comedian Louis C.K. once said that it's a positive thing to talk about terrible things and make people laugh at them. For instance, how do you make a comedy about self-harm? I can feel some of you tensing up because I said comedy and self-harm in the same sentence. But hear me out. There were these two brilliant children who wrote this great script. It's about two parents who meet each other in the supermarket and they start chatting to each other, and they both realise that their children have made it onto the Australian team for the self-harm Olympics. The 300-metre arm slash. I know. And then it descends, I didn't write it. Then it descends into this argument about whose kid is better at self-harm. I mean, it's darkly funny, but quite amazing. But this is the thing about comedy. You can take a few steps back. If that was a scene with two kids cutting themselves, it would just be inappropriate. But if you make it into a comedy, you take a few steps back and you make it about the parents and how proud they are, then suddenly it's out there. You can talk about it. You see what I'm trying to do with this? Okay, here is a gift for all of you. I know that I'm not the only comedian out there who's handy with a camera and can make a film in one day. So what I'm saying to you is, if you're watching this and you work with troubled teenagers, please take the bubble wrap idea. Take it and use it and make one yourself. It's only 7 shots, that's all it is. It's a genre piece that everyone knows with archetypal characters that everyone is familiar with. Please take it and use it. This is my gift to you today. So break a leg, chookers, have a good shoot. Thank you.